crying babies, the occasional delay, and a microwave meal are some of the reasons why many flyers think flying is a terrible experience. But have you ever wondered how the flight attendant, as a staff member on the plane, thinks about these things? Obviously, they must know a lot of things that ordinary passengers don't. This is what I heard from a pilot. Many airlines offer it and most passengers don't know it. Even though the service standards of most airlines are getting lower and lower, there is still an opportunity to visit the cockpit if you ask for it. The trick here is that you'd better come up with it when the plane lands and the pilot hasn't left yet. If you happen to be sitting at the front end next time you fly, you can ask amicably, maybe you might be surprised. And today, we're going to introduce you to the secrets that flight attendants around the world don't tell passengers. The emergency oxygen mask in the plane won't save you for long. Most passengers do not know that the emergency oxygen masks in the cabin can only provide oxygen for about 14 to 20 minutes. When a dangerous situation is really encountered and the flight loses pressure, and the flight cannot descend to an altitude of 12,000 feet below which the passengers can breathe within this period, the passengers will have difficulty breathing and their lives will be in danger. Things happen. The chairs and dining table are quite dirty. The United States travel planning website Travel Math once sent microbiologists to conduct a test and found that the back of the chair and the dining table on the plane were dirtier than the toilet, and the number of bacteria on the dining table was even 8 times higher than that on the flush toilet button. Most airlines try very hard to maintain cleanliness, but the short time between flights makes it impossible for the cleaning team to clean up thoroughly. A hidden code for flight attendants. Many frequent flyers hear a random set of bells during their flight. However, most don't give a second thought to what they really mean. Although most of the time, the sounds may accompany announcements from the crew or the pilots themselves, in other cases, the sounds may also be a kind of code between the crew and may even be in part to prevent passengers from panicking. In general, different numbers of dings may indicate different official information. A single ding may notify flight attendants of impending turbulence in the air, while 2 dings usually indicate that the aircraft is approaching an altitude of about 10,000 meters. 3 jingles could mean the plane is about to experience severe turbulence and flight attendants are advised to take their seats immediately. The food on the plane is not good food. This may come as a shock to many, but how much do you really know about food in aluminum foil containers? Virtually all meals on the plane are cooked in industrial kitchens near the airport before being delivered to each passenger's personal dining table. Typically, meals are prepared between 12 and 72 hours before departure. After a cold blast at 5 degrees Celsius, the staff can refrigerate food for up to 5 days without violating international food hygiene standards. So why does plain food taste so bad? It actually boils down to basic science. When air pressure drops and humidity drops below 12% in an airplane at 9,000 meters, our taste buds and nasal passages become so dehydrated that food tastes noticeably blander than it does on the ground. So extra salt, sugar, and fat are often added to food in order to enhance the basic sweet and salty taste, which means that the average airplane meal contains about 1,500 calories. While the captain also had to choose their food from the same menu, they were not allowed to choose the same food as the co-pilot as a precaution to ensure they didn't suffer from potential food poisoning at the same time. Some airliners have body storage rooms. Every year around the world, there are as many as billions of passengers who fly by plane, and it is inevitable that someone will die on the plane. If a flight attendant finds out that a passenger has died during the flight, she may try to find an area where no one is sitting to place the body. This will give the deceased dignity and keep other passengers from being disturbed. However, if the flight is full, the flight attendants can only let the body stay in the original seat, fasten the seat belt, and cover it with a blanket. In addition, in order to be prepared, Singapore Airlines has a special corpse storage room on many flights in case of emergency. Tea, coffee, or champagne. Drinks on the plane are not as good as those on land, especially hot drinks. The low cabin air pressure means that water boils at 90 degrees Celsius instead of the usual 100 degrees Celsius. So you can't expect the tea you drink on a plane to taste the same as your cup of tea cruising on the ground. Likewise, our increasingly desiccated sinuses can alter the familiar taste of coffee. Smartphones are unlikely to crash planes. One of the most common misconceptions about flying is that if you don't follow strict instructions to set your personal electronic devices to airplane mode and power off before takeoff, you could crash the plane. But that's not entirely true. In fact, a portable electronic device like a laptop or smartphone cannot, by itself, interfere with any of the critical electronics needed to keep the plane flying. The main problem is that the radios used to access the cell phone network can interrupt the signal communication between the aircraft and the control tower, and a plane full of people using cell phones can cause considerable damage due to the combined radio emissions and potential confusion. The toilet on the plane cannot be locked. In fact, the toilet on the plane cannot be locked, although it has the same function as an ordinary toilet that allows passengers to lock. Even if you lock it from the inside, the flight attendant can easily open the door from outside the toilet. This is mainly designed to allow flight attendants to open the door and deal with it in the event of an emergency. The best seats. Many people may never think about the issue of seats on the plane because the window is often their only choice. On the other hand, if you have the money, first class is undoubtedly the best option for many people. However, research shows that despite having more legroom, more comfortable seats, and a more comfortable experience, first class is actually the last place you should sit in a real emergency. In 2012, scientists deliberately crashed a Boeing 737, only to find that none of the first-class dummies survived in real life, and some of the seats were even found about 150 meters from the original crash site. According to popular belief, the seats closest to the wing are stronger and therefore safer. The seat closest to the emergency exit gives you the best chance of escape. If the plane catches fire, you have about 90 seconds to get out safely. In fact, those who sit in the safest seats on the plane are the flight attendants themselves. They sit in rear-facing seats at the rear of the plane, which provide more back and neck support. Pilots and flight attendants sleep at work. Working on an airplane is a stressful job with long and irregular hours, and for flight attendants and captains, it's a complicated job. It's no surprise that in a survey of 500 pilots, half agreed that flying at least once a month suffers from lack of sleep, while in another study 53% of UK pilots in Germany, Sweden and Norway have admitted to falling asleep in flight. So, is this all normal? In fact, don't panic too much because the plane has an autopilot function, and most importantly, there will be one person between the captain and the co-pilot who will stay awake. In fact, sleeping during working hours does not happen by accident. Flight attendants have private sleeping areas so they can sneak out for a good night's sleep during long flights. Interestingly, some lounges on Boeing 777 and 787 airliners have secret locked stair access near the flight deck. Even though the flight attendants can barely stand up, the sleeping pod above the pilot's head is a bit luxurious. They accommodate 2 business class seats, 2 sleeping areas, and have enough room for a closet, sink, or toilet. Is my toilet waste be disposed in the air? This is not the case. Nowadays the airplane bathrooms are basically installed with vacuum toilets. There is a special discharge system, and all the waste generated in the air will be unified after the plane lands and will not be discharged directly in the air. Is it possible to fly in a thunderstorm, and are there any safety issues? As we all know, it is important to avoid going out in thunderstorms, so is it safe to fly? The answer is yes. Because the plane is straight up into the clouds, the installation of lightning protection systems is necessary, and the material of the plane itself is also lightning protected. I have to say that for pets transported by air, even if the airline does the best protection, some things are still unavoidable, such as ramp noise. So please think twice if you want to check in your pets. In order to fly, it's best to give your pet some medicine first. It's pitiful. About 30% of puppies are already very scared before they get on the plane, let alone after they really fly into the sky. Cargo hold staff usually try to comfort scared animals, but the only thing we can do is talk to them, so if you write your pet's name on their cage, it might be of some help. Most people don't realize that airplanes are one of the safest ways to travel. When taking off, everyone was praying, which is understandable. After all, you have to keep flying in the air through a lot of metal. Statistics show that your risk of life-threatening on an airplane is very low because airplanes have very strict standards to ensure the safety of air travel. In fact, compared to worrying about a plane crash, we should worry more about who is sitting next to you. So did you enjoy watching the video? How many of these you didn't know? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like button below the video and click subscribe to stay on the top of our amazing stories from Top Amazing Studio.